There's a concept in psychology that describes a specific combination of three dark personality traits: Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy. Together, they form what researchers call the Dark Triad. Machiavellianism gives them the cognitive advantage, narcissism gives them the ego to rise above others, and psychopathy removes mercy, turning them into seemingly unstoppable forces. Today, we're counting down 9 of the most compelling Dark Triad characters in cinema, from 9 to 1, with 1 being the most complete and convincing portrayal. Let's count down.
The funny thing is, I'm not pretending to be somebody else, and you are.
Boring.
I've been absolutely honest with you about my feelings.
Boring.
We start at number 9, Tom Ripley from The Talented Mr. Ripley. He doesn't want power, he doesn't want money, he wants to be someone else entirely. Tom Ripley studies Dickie Greenleaf, the way he moves, the way he laughs, the things he owns, and then slowly, methodically, begins to replace him. First in imagination, then in fact. But here's what makes Tom clinically interesting. His psychopathy is actually relatively low. He feels anxiety, he forms attachments, he needs to belong. What dominates his profile is Machiavellianism, cold, calculated adaptation in service of a goal. He isn't remorseless so much as desperate, and that desperation, that absence of a stable self, makes him disturbingly human, which is exactly why he's so unsettling to watch.
Happy Polly Lodges. I had something of a pain in the Gulliver, so had to sleep. I was not awakened when I gave orders for wakening.
Oh, sorry about the pain. Using the Gulliver too much, like, maybe.
Moving to number 8, Alex DeLarge from A Clockwork Orange. He is the center of everything, his own narrator, his own audience, his own greatest admirer. Alex doesn't seek validation from others because he's already decided, at a level below argument, that the world exists primarily in relation to him. That's the narcissism. The psychopathy is the part that sings. When he performs Singin' in the Rain during a home invasion, it isn't cruelty for cruelty's sake. It's emotional experience fully severed from consequence. He isn't pretending to enjoy it. He genuinely does, and that's the clinical point. What looks like exuberance is actually psychopathy in its purest form, sensation without empathy, pleasure without guilt. Where Alex falls short on the Dark Triad scale is Machiavellianism. He's impulsive, pleasure-driven. He manipulates, but without patience, without strategy. He wants everything now, which is exactly why the system is eventually able to break him.
I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you? Go back to ripping off mob dealers? No. No, you complete me.
Number 7, the Joker from The Dark Knight. Here's the diagnostic challenge. The Joker looks Machiavellian. He engineers elaborate schemes. He manipulates entire cities. But look closer. His plans don't serve his self-interest. They serve spectacle, disruption, chaos for its own sake. That's not Machiavellianism in the clinical sense. That's something closer to a philosophy. His psychopathy isn't emotional flatness. It's the replacement of normal emotional content with something that functions like aesthetic appreciation for disorder. And in the interrogation scene, the taunting calm, the performative monologues, the total absence of fear, you see the full structure: narcissistic grandiosity, callous affect, and manipulation without remorse. What makes that scene clinically fascinating is that he isn't lying. He is describing himself accurately, which, for a character like this, is unusual, and somehow more terrifying than any deception could be.
I think Huey has a far more bitter, cynical sense of humor.
Hey, Halberstram.
Yes, Alan?
Why are there copies of the style section all over the place? Do you have a dog? A little chow or something?
No, Alan.
Is that a raincoat?
Yes, it is.
At number 6, Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. He is relentlessly, exhaustingly concerned with status, the precise calibration of where he stands relative to every man in the room. That business card scene isn't just iconic, it's a clinical document. Narcissism of this type functions like a second nervous system, always scanning, always comparing, always threatened. His psychopathy is the silence underneath, an emotional vacancy so complete that violence becomes a kind of sensation-seeking, a way of feeling something in a person who has lost access to the ordinary range of human experience. Where Bateman is weaker on the Dark Triad is Machiavellianism. His social performance is more impression management than genuine strategy. He isn't manipulating toward a goal, he's holding himself together. Director Mary Harron keeps the horror at the edge of absurdity, which is itself a clinical observation. Grandiosity at its most extreme tends to look exactly like satire.
What's the most you ever lost on a coin toss?
Sir?
The most you ever lost on a coin toss?
I don't know. I couldn't say.
Call it.
Call it.
Yes.
For a whole lot.
Just call it.
Number 5. Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men. Anton doesn't appear angry. He doesn't appear to want anything you could take away from him to make him stop. What he exhibits is not psychopathy as dysfunction. It's psychopathy as cosmology. He has constructed a moral framework so internally consistent it operates like a legal system, with rules, precedents, and a concept of justice that has no relationship to human welfare. His narcissism is almost absent. He doesn't seek admiration. He doesn't seek recognition. He positions himself not as a protagonist, but as an impersonal force. In the gas station scene, the coin toss, the flat effect, the refusal to bargain, you see the full structure. Near total psychopathy, minimal ego investment, and only utilitarian calculation. Javier Bardem plays him without posture, without any of the conventional signals of screen menace. That's why the scene remains one of the most genuinely unsettling in American cinema.
The spending, the abuse, the fear, the threat of violence. And Nick thought he was the writer. Burn it just the right amount. Make sure the cops will find it.
At number 4, Amy Dunne from Gone Girl. And here's where things shift, because Amy Dunne doesn't use violence as her weapon, she uses architecture. She builds a reality, carefully, patiently, with extraordinary precision, and then she burns it down around someone else. The cool girl monologue is a clinical document. What she's describing isn't heartbreak, it's strategic taxonomy. The narcissistic fragility reveals itself in how she frames abandonment, not as loss, but as betrayal of a performance she perfected. There is no grief. There is only the calculation of a response. David Fincher shoots her in close-up during this moment, and the stillness of her face is more unsettling than any expression of rage could have been. Amy's Dark Triad profile is dominated by Machiavellianism, patient, long-range, breathtakingly detailed manipulation. She is one of the rare female Dark Triad characters in cinema and one of the most complete.
Say it louder! I've abandoned my child! I've abandoned my child!
Number 3. Daniel Plainview from There Will Be Blood. Clinical narcissism at this level is sometimes described as divine grandiosity, not merely a belief in one's superiority, but a belief in one's exemption from ordinary human obligations. Daniel Plainview uses people as instruments and discards them without ceremony. That's textbook Machiavellianism. But what distinguishes him is the emotional isolation that has calcified around him. He isn't cold because he chose to be. He's cold because connection was never something he found useful. The scene where he explains to his son with complete composure why their relationship no longer serves him, that scene is the whole portrait. Daniel Day-Lewis plays this not as villainy, but as a kind of species difference. and the camera holds on his face long enough to make the viewer feel the temperature drop. Number 2, Lou Bloom from Nightcrawler. Lou has clearly read every self-help book ever written and understood none of them correctly. He talks about ambition, about hard work, about the value he adds, and while he's talking, he's repositioning a body for a better camera angle. There's no hesitation, no internal conflict, just callous affect, the complete decoupling of emotional response from moral reasoning. His narcissism expresses itself through the language of entrepreneurialism. He genuinely believes he is special, not in spite of his behavior, but because of it. And his Machiavellian manipulation of his media contacts is almost elegant in its patience. Jake Gyllenhaal plays him with wide, unblinking eyes that suggest not intensity, but the absence of the thing that makes intensity possible.
Tell me how.
First principles, Clarice. Simplicity. Read Marcus Aurelius. Of each particular thing, ask, what is it in itself? What is its nature? What does he do, this man you seek?
And now, number 1. The most complete Dark Triad character in cinema, Hannibal Lecter from The Silence of the Lambs. What makes Lecter clinically extraordinary, and what places him at the top of this list, is that he exceeds the standard model. His narcissism isn't fragile, it's armored, which is rare in Dark Triad presentations and which makes him functionally more dangerous. He doesn't manipulate for personal gain in any conventional sense. He manipulates because he finds it intellectually interesting, which places his Machiavellianism in service of something closer to cruelty as cognition. And the psychopathy is total, but it coexists with something almost paradoxical, an exquisite sensitivity to other people's emotional states, which he reads the way a musician reads sheet music, not to connect, to control. Anthony Hopkins plays the stillness with such precision that the scene's unease comes entirely from what isn't moving. He is charming enough to make you forget what he is, and that, clinically, is exactly the point. So here's what this list really reveals. The Dark Triad isn't just villainy. It's a specific architecture, calculation without conscience, ego without empathy, charm without humanity. Cinema keeps returning to these characters because something in how their minds are built illuminates something about the minds watching them. The screen doesn't create the Dark Triad. It recognizes it. Thank you for watching.